Hello there, very good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News, where we get you the top developing stories. Let's start with the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi pitches for India as an attractive investment destination at the India-Oman business meet in Muscat. Compliments expanding strategic partnership between India and Oman, and both countries signed 8 agreements. Prime Minister to wrap up the whirlwind West Asia Gulf tour today. Terror attack at the CRPF camp in Srinagar foiled. Gunfight is underway. 1 Jawan martyred in Sunjwan in Jammu. 3 terrorists are killed in clearing operations following an attack on an army camp on Saturday. Home Minister to chair high-level meeting to review security situation in the state this evening. BJP President Amit Shah says the party will form the next government in Tripura. Accuses the left of having failed the youth of the state, while Congress releases the manifesto for the state, and Rahul Gandhi targets centre on jobs and farmers issue in the Karnataka campaign. Rajasthan Chief Minister Vasundhara Raje presents the state budget. 1.84 lakh women, Anganwadi workers and daily wage earners to benefit. Thrust on healthcare facilities in the budget. And probe begins into the Russian plane crash. All 71 on board were killed after a Saratov Airlines plane crashed minutes after takeoff from Moscow. President Putin condoles the loss of lives. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi expresses sorrow. Our top focus this afternoon is the concluding day of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 4-day visit to West Asia and the Gulf region. The Prime Minister today began the final day of his visit with the Oman-India business meet in Muscat. He pitched India as an attractive destination to do business. He also talked about India's economic prowess and investment opportunities. At the meeting where he addressed the CEOs, the Prime Minister complimented the expanding strategic partnership between India and Oman. The Prime Minister also held a meeting with the Deputy Prime Minister for International Relations and Cooperation Affairs of Oman. He will be meeting the Deputy Prime Minister of the Council of Ministers of Oman later. And PM Modi will also pay a visit to the Shiva temple in Oman. He will be visiting the Sultan Qaboos Grand Mosque as well. The Prime Minister will then wrap up his visit in the afternoon today. And in a gesture reflecting the warmth and personal chemistry between Prime Minister Modi and Sultan Qaboos, breakfast for the Prime Minister today came from the Sultan's palace. At a dinner hosted by the Sultan for Prime Minister at the residential palace on Sunday, the sense of warmth between the two leaders was reflected in the flow of conversation that went beyond midnight. And now we're getting the live visuals coming in, as we informed you that the Prime Minister is visiting the Shiva temple there in Oman. And this, of course, is a significant visit there, definitely. Today is, of course, the last day of his West Asia Gulf tour trip. And like we said, since morning, there have been, of course, a series of events that the Prime Minister has been attending. And he, of course, most importantly, as India's economic growth being, of course, the focal point of his visits, he has, of course, expressed confidence that India is the place for investment as far as business is concerned. Also talked about India's economic prowess, investment opportunities. And he also addressed CEOs, where he complimented the expanding strategic partnership between India and Oman. Prime Minister Modi started his trip, of course, with that historic visit in Palestine, being the first Prime Minister of India to visit Palestine. That was a successful 3-hour trip, that journey, of course, the stay there. And various agreements were signed between both sides. We saw, of course, a similar bonhomie and warmth that was shared as well between leaders of India and the UAE. And now, of course, he is in Oman. What you're seeing are live visuals of Prime Minister Modi at the Shiva temple in Oman.
Amrut Derastu ऐश्वर्यमस्तु बलमस्तु रिपुक्षयोस्तु वंशे सदैव भवतां हरिभक्त.
All right, we'll continue tracking developments there. Meanwhile, India and Oman have signed 8 agreements in various sectors, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit. During, of course, his visit to the country, the Prime Minister held wide-ranging talks with the Sultan of Oman on Sunday, and the PM, who has been on a whirlwind tour of Jordan, Palestine, UAE and Oman, will wrap up his visit today.
India and Oman have signed 8 agreements, including pacts on cooperation in the field of defence, health and tourism. The agreements were signed after Prime Minister Narendra Modi held wide-ranging talks with the Sultan of Oman, Qaboos bin Said Al Said, on Sunday in Muscat. Prime Minister Modi is in Oman on the last leg of his 3-nation tour. Following the meeting, the Ministry of External Affairs tweeted, "The two strategic partners discussed to strengthen cooperation in trade and investment, energy, defence and security, food security and regional issues." Sultan Qaboos appreciated the contribution of honest and hard-working Indian nationals in the development of Oman. The agreements signed between the two sides include an MOU on legal and judicial cooperation in civil and commercial matters, one on mutual visa exemption for holders of diplomatic, special, service and official passports, an MOU on cooperation in the field of health, tourism and peaceful use of outer space, an MOU on academic and scholarly cooperation between National Defence College Sultanate of Oman and the Institute of Defence Studies and Analysis was also signed. The two sides also signed an annexure to the MOU on military cooperation. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And Prime Minister Modi addressed the Indian diaspora in Oman and hailed their contribution to the progress of the region. The Prime Minister highlighted the changes being brought about in government functioning in India and said that the interest of Gulf countries in India is increasing.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressing the Indian diaspora at a community event at the Sultan Qaboos Sports Complex in Muscat on Sunday evening. The PM said that India and Oman enjoy historic ties which span thousands of years. He said he wanted to visit Oman for a very long time. The PM expressed pride that Indians are contributing to the growth of Oman as India's goodwill ambassadors.
8 लाख भाई बहन ये भारत के गुडविल एम्बेसडर्स हैं। आपने ओमान के विकास के लिए अपना महत्वपूर्ण योगदान दिया है और मुझे खुशी है कि ओमान की सरकार भी आपके अथाक परिश्रम का पूरा सम्मान करती है.
Stating that India shares a warm and long-lasting relationship with Oman, he said that the interests of the Gulf nations continue to grow in India.
यही सुनते थे ना, मैं उससे उल्टी खबर देना चाहता हूं.
He highlighted the government's thrust on minimum government and maximum governance in the last 4 years. He said every Indian is working towards fulfilling the resolution of New India today. He said his government is making procedures simpler, abolishing unnecessary laws and listening to people's problems with sincerity and taking action on them.
सरकार तो वही है, लोग वही है, वही ब्यूरोक्रेसी है, वही साधन है, वही संसाधन है, वही फाइल है, वही बाबू है, सब कुछ वही है, लेकिन नतीजे कुछ और आ रहे हैं.
Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And earlier in a keynote address at the World Government Summit in Dubai on the second day of his 2-day visit to the UAE, Prime Minister Narendra Modi voiced concerns over attempts to radicalize the cyberspace and urged governments to guard against the misuse of technology, saying that it must be used as a means of development, not destruction. He said that the main challenges, poverty, unemployment, education and housing, can be overcome through development by technology.
साइबर स्पेस का रेडिकलाइजेशन के लिए इस्तेमाल कुछ लोगों द्वारा टेक्नोलॉजी के दुरुपयोग का उदाहरण है. तमाम तरक्की के बावजूद दुनिया से गरीबी और कुपोषण खत्म नहीं हुए हैं, लेकिन दूसरी ओर धन, समय और संसाधन का बड़ा हिस्सा मिसाइलों और बमों की क्षमता बढ़ाने में लग रहा है। हमें सचेत रहना होगा कि हम टेक्नोलॉजी को विकास का साधन बनाएं, विनाश का कतई नहीं।
And Prime Minister Modi officially launched a project for the construction of a first Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi on Sunday. Here are the details.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the Indian diaspora in the UAE and hailed growing ties with the Gulf countries as deep, broad and vibrant. Speaking of India's growth and development, he said the country is changing at a rapid pace.
भारत का खाड़ी के देशों के साथ इतना गहरा, इतना व्यापक और इतना वाइब्रेंट नाता बना है। आज यूएई हो, खाड़ी के और देश हों, हमारा नाता सिर्फ बायर और सेलर का नहीं रहा है, एक पार्टनरशिप का बना है।
The Prime Minister on Sunday also laid the foundation stone for the first Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi. He launched the BAPS Swami Narayan Temple project via video conferencing from the Dubai Opera House and thanked the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, on the behalf of 125 crore Indians for the construction of the Grand Temple in the Gulf Emirate.
ये मंदिर अपने आप में एक अनोखा तो होगा ही होगा, लेकिन विश्व समुदाय को वसुधैव कुटुंबकम जिस मंत्र को हम जिए हैं, उस मंत्र का अनुभव कराने का भी अवसर प्राप्त होगा और इसके कारण भारत की एक अपनी पहचान भी बनाने का एक माध्यम बनेगा।
The temple, which will be the first traditional Hindu stone temple in the Middle East, will be built on 55,000 square meters of land. Expected to be completed by 2020, the temple premises will also include a visitor center, prayer halls, learning areas, sports area, thematic gardens, water features, a food court and a souvenir shop. The temple will be built at Abu Murailkha off the Dubai-Abu Dhabi highway. The stones will be carved by artisans in India and assembled in the UAE. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
A quick break here. We'll be back with more national stories in a bit. Stay with us.
Hello and welcome to the National Elections Quiz 2018. With which Indian state would you associate Red Panda, Mrig Babu and Votuda as mascots?
As the final nears, the competition gets tougher.
And that is the right answer. Very well done. Let's continue with the quiz. What is this new method of monitoring elections?
Watch out for the third semi-final of the National Election Quiz 2018.
What is your answer?
Online.
10 points to the team from Daman and Diu. Very well done.
Presented to you by the Election Commission of India, Saturday at 5 p.m. only on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. A terror attack bid on a CRPF camp in Srinagar was foiled today. However, a CRPF Jawan was martyred in the exchange of fire in Karan Nagar area. According to reports, the militants fled from the spot and have taken shelter in a house which had been cordoned off by the CRPF. Intermittent exchange of fire was reported and the CRPF moved in more troops to ensure that the militants do not escape.
I think since the operation is in process, it will not be appropriate for us to make any comments right now. Let the operation be over and then from the reliable sources, we'll get whatever the version is.
Counter is going on. In the morning around 4:45, two militants they try to barge into the headquarters of CRPF 23 Battalion, and the alert sentry he repulsed the attack. As a result, these two terrorists they sneak into the building which were close to the headquarters of the battalion. So then our valley QATs of CRPF they came along with SOG while they were searching house to house. The contact was established around 9:30. So now the encounter is going on.
Meanwhile, launching a clearing operation on Sunday night, the army fired mortar shells at the vacated residential quarters of the Sunjwan military camp, setting them ablaze a day after Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists attacked an army camp in Jammu. Earlier, Army spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Devendra Anand said that the Army found the bodies of 3 of its personnel and a civilian, taking the toll to 6 in the attack, and gunned down 3 terrorists. Army spokesperson also said that there was no exchange of fire on the clearing operation launched on Sunday night. As per police officials, fresh gunfire resulted in eruption of fire at the quarters, though. We'll keep an eye out on developments there. Meanwhile, let's head on to election news. And BJP President Amit Shah has said that the next government in Tripura will be of the Saffron Party. Shah lashed out at the CPIM government, saying that it has been fueling violence, but the BJP will effectively fight against it. Shah also stated that the Manik Sarkar-led CPIM government has failed to generate employment opportunities for the youth in the state. Shah also promised to bring development in the state and will generate the employment opportunities for the people of Tripura. The state will go to polls on the 18th of February.
अब तक जो चुनाव प्रक्रिया और प्रचार चला है और प्रदेश की हर कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी की स्थिति के बारे में कल प्रदेश समिति की डिटेल चर्चा हुई है। मैं सबसे पहले एक बात निश्चित कहना चाहता हूं कि त्रिपुरा में अगली सरकार भारतीय जनता पार्टी की बनने जा रही है। 10 साल और 25 साल के 2 स्पेल में कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी का जो शासन त्रिपुरा में रहा, वो शासन के दौरान त्रिपुरा राज्य विकास की रेस में सबसे पीछे के नंबर पर जाकर खड़ा है। अपने मूल स्वभाव के अनुरूप सीपीएम हिंसा के रास्ते पर द्रुत गति से जाता हुआ दिखाई देता है।
And the BJP on Sunday released its vision document for the upcoming assembly elections in Tripura. The document was released by senior BJP leader and Finance Minister Arun Jaitley in Agartala. The vision document promises steady growth in the state. It also promises that special economic zones would be set up in the state and smartphones would be given to the youth for free if the Saffron Party is elected to power in the state. It also promised of providing employment to every household, free education for women till graduation, the 7th pay commission salary to state government employees, and free smartphones to youth. Lashing out at the state government, Jaitley said that the wave of anger runs in the state today against the ruling CPIM. The voting for the 60-member assembly will be held on the 18th of this month and counting will take place on the 3rd of March. The BJP is contesting in 51 seats while its alliance partner, Indigenous People's Front of Tripura, has fielded candidates in 9 seats.
और एक आक्रोश की लहर, एक एंटी इनकम्बेंसी के रूप में सीपीएम के खिलाफ बहुत तेजी से इस राज्य के अंदर फैली है। जो डेवलपमेंटल एजेंडा है, डेवलपमेंटल पॉलिटिक्स है, उसको सर्वप्रथम रखा है और इस विजन डॉक्यूमेंट में त्रिपुरा के संबंध में वो डेवलपमेंटल पॉलिटिक्स सामने आए, हमारी पार्टी को अवसर मिलता है तो वो प्रयास रहेगा।
And the Congress party also released its manifesto for the upcoming Tripura assembly polls in Tripura. The party is focused on development, peace, employment and health.
कि कांग्रेस पार्टी का मैनिफेस्टो में हमारा पहला लक्ष्य है विकास। दूसरा है शांति, तीसरा है नौकरी, 14 है स्वास्थ्य, 5 वाला यूनाइटेड त्रिपुरा। ये हमारा मेन लक्ष्य है। अभी वामपंथी शासन में यहाँ त्रिपुरा में विकास नहीं हो रहा है।
Well, our correspondent Kriti Mishra is tracking all developments there in Tripura, joining us now from Agartala. Kriti, you know, earlier when we would talk about elections in Tripura, it would mostly be the left versus the Congress. This time around, there's a new player. We've got the BJP, and it's going really strong as far as its campaigning is concerned. Give us a sense of what people on the streets are saying.
Well, that's right. Earlier, it was a bipolar politics in Tripura with Congress and the CPM calling the shots. But this time around, BJP has emerged as the main challenger for the ruling CPM. In fact, today also in the morning, Amit Shah held a press conference here. Yogi Adityanath is also in Tripura to woo voters, and also galaxy of BJP stalwarts have descended to Tripura to wrest Tripura from CPM. Meanwhile, the BJP has promised that it will provide employment opportunities to the people of Tripura, free education for girls, smartphones for the youth, and also implement the 7th pay commission provisions for the state government employees. Meanwhile, the CPM has said that it takes credit for the end of insurgency in the state and says that maintenance of peace and stability in Tripura would be the fulcrum of its election campaign in the state. So certainly both the parties have pulled out all stops to woo the voters, and it remains to be seen which way, whether the left or the right, Tripura goes on 18th. Over to you.
All right, Kriti, thank you so much for those details. We'll come back to you, of course, in the coming days for more updates from that state. Meanwhile, 2 other states, of course, to go to polls, which is Nagaland and Meghalaya. And today is the last date for withdrawal of nomination papers for the assembly elections in both the states. Both of them will go to on single-day polls on the 27th of February, and the counting of votes will take place on the 3rd of March. In Meghalaya, altogether, 377 nominations have been declared valid by the election office out of the 443 filed by the candidates for the 60-member assembly. As many as 100 companies of central forces are being deployed to maintain peace and order during the assembly elections in the state. In Nagaland, 256 candidates have filed their nominations, and after scrutiny, the papers of 227 candidates, including 5 women, were found valid. Withdrawal of candidature will end at 3 p.m. today. The Office of the Chief Electoral Officer has launched a poster campaign in the poll-bound state in a way to encourage electorates to grab the opportunity to wisely choose their representatives for the 13th Legislative Assembly. And ahead of the assembly elections in Karnataka in May, Rahul Gandhi is on a poll trail in the state. On the 3rd day of his 4-day visit today, the Congress president is visiting 3 districts, Raichur, Yadagiri and Gulbarg. This morning, Rahul Gandhi was in Raichur district, where he visited a dargah. Rahul Gandhi is travelling by a special bus along with top state leaders, including Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah and President of the Karnataka Pradesh Congress Committee, G. Parmeshwara. Rahul Gandhi, after that, in fact, will be at a tribal rally in Devdurga at Raichur district, and stepped up the attacks on Prime Minister Modi over issues like unemployment, corruption and farmers' loan waiver.
तो मोदी जी बहाने बनाना बंद कीजिए, काम करना शुरू कीजिए, युवाओं को रोजगार देना शुरू कीजिए, किसानों की मदद करना, किसानों का कर्ज माफ करना शुरू कीजिए। आपके पास अब ज्यादा समय नहीं बचा है, 1 साल बचा है। चुनाव है, आप चुनाव को भी कर रहे हो, तो उससे भी कम समय बचा है आपका। काम शुरू कीजिए, बहाने बंद कीजिए।
And ahead of the assembly election this year in Rajasthan, the government has announced a one-time loan waiver of up to 50,000 rupees for small and marginal farmers at a cost of 8,000 crore rupees to the state exchequer. Presenting the state budget in the assembly, Chief Minister Vasundhara Rajya said that a farmer loan relief commission will be set up to address the issues of farmers. Rajya, who holds the finance portfolio as well, announced a hike in the honorarium to Anganwadi workers and free travel for those working above the age of 80 years, for those travelling above the age of 80 years in state transport buses.
मैं लघु एवं सीमांत कृषकों के सहकारी बैंकों में 30 सितंबर 2017 को ओवरड्यू ऋण में समस्त शास्ति एवं ब्याज माफी की घोषणा करती हूं। इसी कड़ी में इनको शामिल करते हुए सहकारी बैंकों के लघु और सीमांत कृषकों के 30 सितंबर 2017 तक आउटस्टैंडिंग अल्पकालीन फसली ऋण में से 50,000 तक के कर्जे की एक बार माफी की घोषणा करती हूं।
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu addressed the valedictory session of the 4th South Asian Insurance Regulatory Meet and International Insurance Conference in Hyderabad on Sunday. The Deputy Chief Minister of Telangana and other dignitaries were also present at the event. The Vice President said that insurance companies must focus on unfair trade practices that ensure availability of products at an affordable price. He said that aging population, frequent occurrence of natural calamities and lack of uniform medical care are major challenges faced by SAARC nations. Further, he added that the thrust must be given to cover all vulnerable and marginalized sections and ensure quality health care. The Vice President said that there has to be a broad consensus on reforms. The centre and states must work together to ensure that reforms are implemented properly.
Effective risk management strategy that protects individuals and institutions from financial losses arising out of unforeseen contingencies, whether it is natural calamities or accidents, even other things, you cannot foresee them. But you have to be God. You have to guard yourself to protect from such unforeseen happenings, contingencies.
And in a quick international news update, investigation has begun into the crash of a Russian airliner, the Antonov AN-148, near Moscow, that killed all 65 passengers and 6 crew members on board. The regional jet belonging to Russian carrier Saratov Airlines disappeared from radar screens a few minutes after departing from Moscow. The plane crashed about 80 kilometers southeast of Moscow. A video showed a big explosion in the distance. Investigators and emergency crews are working at the snow-covered site, and one of the flight recorders has been recovered. Russian President Vladimir Putin has expressed his condolences to the victims' families and announced an inquiry into the cause of death. Prime Minister Modi on Sunday expressed his condolences over the loss of lives in the crash. And that's it on the Midday News. Thank you for joining us.